You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Yeah, what was that? Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk Sunday Stream of Consciousness. We're a couple minutes late. Sorry about that. We were running late over on the National Streaming Sports Sunday morning show. Jack and I had a few heated moments, but what else is new? We'll have those a lot going forward on the our new show, which I'll talk about in a second. Want to welcome everybody watching today on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the groups that allow us to share, and we'll air these this show plausibly live later. John Gonzalez at the Sports Authorities, Greg Rawlings at America's Pastime, the Love for Baseball, Flo and the gang over at Bottom Line Sports. Let's Talk Sports, lots of great content there, just like there is on National Streaming Sports. I want to talk about that in a second. Ken Krause over at Golf Bud, Sports of All Sorts, and many, many others. Sports devotees, community of sports. There's so many different groups we could share. And we, as I say every week, I got to do a better job of sharing them. Thumbs up to DDH and Mac McGrath, our cohorts who are no longer with us, but watching over us, hopefully, and making sure we called out on our mistakes. National Streaming Sports, we're still in limbo with Roku and whatnot. We're trying to figure out how to keep this. The group of people are going to stay together. Whether we'll be branded National Streaming Sports is a bit of a bit up in the air, but it won't matter. You'll still see all the great shows that, well, sorry, I'm tooting my own horn here. All the shows that I do, all the great shows that are done across the network by Bo Crouch and Bistrella, for whatever Sonia's able to do. The shows on the debate show on Saturday mornings with Jack and James Martin. And I think Doc Semendinger's shows will continue. You'll see all those great shows. It's just a matter of where you'll see them. We're working on some things, so we'll let you know about that. And with that said, Jack and I, as you know, with unfortunately our cohort Mac McGrath no longer with us, and Jack decided he wanted to work with me for whatever reason. We've got Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook every Monday and Friday at 8 a.m. So we bookend the weekend, and we'll give you all the sports news heading in and heading out. So some of it will be a repeat of what we talk about here today, but it's always interesting. And if you watch the first 20 minutes of this morning show, you see it's always interesting with Jack and I on certain topics. I'm going to get into it today with a few things that we talked about, but just a quick couple things that we can chat about today. We'll get to your comments and good mornings. And remember, guys, it's your show. Have fun with it. Yankees and Mets. Oh, my God. It's funny. I wrote down Mets here. It's been ugly for 2 games. The Yankees are just not playing well in every phase of this game. Sorry, Jack. Not playing well. They don't hit in the clutch situations. They don't field in clutch situations. The pitchers are getting hurt. Schmidt's out for the year now. Will Warren pitched horribly the other night, who I'm a big fan of. Rondon, who I still don't trust, comes up small in a big game again. And if you don't think this was a big game yesterday, you're wrong. 6 straight losses. And even Volpe, who's not hitting, is now trying to kill Aaron Judge in pregame warmup. So we got everything going wrong there. And they trade for what's the guy's name they picked up? Oh my God! I mean, Jack is trying to tell me this is a great pickup. I can't remember. I'm not even sure I can pronounce the guy's name. Let me get to his name here. Yankees pick up who? It's got to be over here. I wrote his name down. I can't read it from there. You guys can help me. The Cubs just released him. Drew will be able to help me out. Can't find his damn name. He's hitting 117, by the way. There it is. Candelario. Jesus. He's hitting 117. He's not an answer. Yeah, maybe they catch lightning in a bottle, which is what Jack talked about. We'll talk about this again tomorrow morning in a little more detail. I don't know what he's talking about, though. All-star lineups are out. We can talk about that. Snell and Senga might be back this week. Kershaw tops 3,000 strikeouts at home. Congratulations to him. Will it ever happen again? Probably not. We can talk about that. Cubs hit 8 home runs, a record. They've been around since 1876. That's their most home runs they've ever hit. It's also the most Cardinals have ever given up, and they've been around only since 1882. Blue Jays, as I said, have won 7 straight and are now 3 games ahead of the Yankees. Interesting story about Pete Crow Armstrong that I believe Paul Spada brought to me. We can touch on today. His mother was the mother of the manager, the teenage manager in Little Big League. I did not know this. Great story. And sadly, in baseball, a quick condolences to the family and friends of Bobby Jenks, former closer with the White Sox and the Red Sox. Later was on a 2005 White Sox World Series team. Pitch using a former All-Star, had a few really, really good years, and he had a form of rare form, I believe, of stomach cancer, and he was in Mexico trying to get treatment. And unfortunately, as happens to a lot of people, this really kind of bankrupted him as well. So our thoughts and prayers are with the Jenks family. In football, not a lot of talk about. The TJ Watt debacle continues in Pittsburgh. Training camps are about to open. If you got any thoughts about the season, we can get into it. The NBA, we haven't had a chance to talk about the fact that Mike Brown is the new head coach of the Knicks. If you remember what I said here last week, I said the whole Don Staley thing was a smoke screen because the Knicks are about to hire Mike Brown, and they want to be able to say, we overturned every stone. 2 days later, he signed. $40 million contract, by the way. They still owe Tibbs $30. This is who we're going to replace Tibbs with to get us the next step. I like Mike Brown. But you said we needed a guy to get us over the top. Mike Brown's that guy. LeBron resigns for $52 million with the Lakers. The big question is, will he stay with the Lakers? The re-signing is just his decision. We don't know whether he's going to stay or go. So we got a good crowd popping in here today. Good job. Larry Fitzgerald, son, Devin, signs with Notre Dame. He's only a 3-star prospect. The bigger news is Calvin Russell, the 4th best wide receiver in this recruiting class, ranking-wise, is going to Syracuse, upstate New York. Welcome. If you're with us, Dave Guyette, nice player. Bill Belichick gets a new boss. How will it affect his future? WNBA, Nikki Blue is suing the Mercury for Jesus, for racial and gender discrimination for both pay and her termination. She said she was underpaid. I did a quick look. There's 8 female coaches in the WNBA. She was 7 and 21. She was getting paid $250,000. The top paid woman in the WNBA coaching wise is making $1 million. I don't know where this goes. And then gambling. Another Ortiz with the Cleveland. By the way, I mentioned some teams last week and asked who could come back from their slow starts. Cleveland was brought up by a couple of players or a couple of people. They've lost 9 straight. But gambling, they lose a pitcher to some gambling allegations. We don't know what the story is yet. But this is, again, becoming a plethora of issues. Ortiz, Beasley in the NBA. Temple last year. I can't read some of my writing. This is some stuff I wrote down Friday we never got into. The LSU Alabama baseball situation a couple years ago. Washington State. Iowa State. Iowa. All over the place. We continue to send mixed messages. All these leagues and the NCAA get into the gambling business. This story was brought to you by DraftKings, by the way. Listen, I'm no prude. People can gamble, but you're causing a lot of issues within players. So anyway, let's get to it. It's your show. Good morning, CA. How are you, my friend? We're up to 11. And happy birthday, too, by the way, to Danny Fuller, which we'll wish him a happy birthday again if we see him here earlier, and William Akins, who's a regular contributor to this show and has his own podcast out of Pittsburgh as well. Happy birthday to him. Let's see. Are we not on? Hang on, Drew. I'll check it out. I tried to can. I thought I figured out what the problem was, by the way. I thought it was the event and the way I was putting it up. We are not live. Well, we're going to leave it as it is. I'm not going to mess with it and turn it off the way I did last time, Drew, because it screws up the whole. Can I share this? Try something new. I'm going to try something new. I got to get rid of that, though. Hold on. Sorry about this little delay here, guys. We're trying to get the show into the feed. Now we've done it. I guess I can go in and share it from my profile picture. So anyway, thanks for the heads up, Drew, and good morning to you. Paul Spada, good morning. I think Paul is the one that brought up the Pete Crow Armstrong. Interesting, very interesting tidbit, I thought. I remember watching Little Big League and thought it was a fun baseball movie. If you remember, there was a teenager. I don't remember how it happened. His grandfather died, maybe, and he became manager of the Twins. But his mother in that movie, the kid's mother in that movie is actually Pete Crow Armstrong's mother. I think it's a very interesting story. Great job, Paul. Still 5 slots open in TGI Sports Talk Fantasy League. Anybody wants to get in? Danny Fuller, we got to get Danny in. I just sent him the link again during the week. I know Paul made it in. And I got to find out whether Danny has any issues. Can you go over some sleeper college quarterbacks for this year? We can certainly take a look at that if we have some time. As we are on hiatus, by the way, on the college football huddle until August, as you know. But we'll take a look at that as we go forward here. I don't want to fall too far behind, but we can take a quick look at that, and we'll look at the rankings for those quarterbacks if we have some time, and see how it goes, Paul. But if not this week, we'll get into it. It's still a little early. I did. It's funny. I should have credited you. Yes, and it's funny. I wrote down. I didn't mean to steal it, Drew. I just you won't be able to see it. I wrote down mess. I didn't realize that I did it. And by the way, the Mets are a mess right now. The Mets have climbed within a half game of first place again, won 4 in a row from the Yankees. The Yankees have, listen, I'm not taking any thing away from the Mets. The Yankees have certainly contributed their own demise here. More of the same. I see this stuff every single year. It's the same kind of thing. I talk to people and I think, oh, they got plenty of pitching. He'll be back. We don't know what Heal's going to give us. Now Schmidt's down for the year. I don't know what I'm getting out of Stroman. I never know what I'm getting out of frickin' Rendon. The bullpen is a frickin' mess other than Weaver, and Williams is still up and down. Weaver's the only reliable guy in that bullpen at the moment. Candelario, thank you. He's at 117. I talked about Jazz belongs to second base. He's a gold glove caliber defensive player at second base. His range is a big plus there. But we continue to weaken 2 positions because DJ is more comfortable at second base, and it's not the DJ of old, unfortunately. Jazz needs to play second. We need to get a third baseman in here, and it's not Candelario. I don't care that he just signed a $40 million contract for 3 years. He got released hitting 117. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong. He does play third base. You're right. I play third base too. I did. Oh my God. Maybe all of a sudden he finds what he had. If you remember, I think it was 2 years ago, Drew, you can correct me. 2 years ago, because I don't think it was last year. He was hot in Washington. They weren't keeping him. What is he, 30? He's 30 some years old, isn't he? How old is this guy? I want to say he's 31. Yeah, 31. Oh, sorry, he hit 113. I was giving him too much credit. He hit 113. Should be playing on the Rockies. Good morning, Rick Sherlock, up in Amsterdam. How are you, my friend? Been a great weekend here, hasn't it? I don't know where you guys are. I hope you had a happy 4th of July, by the way. It's been a tremendous weekend here in upstate New York. It's going to get hot today and tomorrow, 94, 95 heat indexes. We may take a ride to Lake George later for some lunch and maybe take a ride out in a Minnehaha. I don't know. We'll see. Today or tomorrow. I'm off till Wednesday. As we count down the days, when I get back to work, it'll be less than 50. And a few days off in August to go along with that. But it's been a beautiful weekend. We went to the lake and got on the boat with my son-in-law and stepdaughter and granddaughter. We had a great time on the 4th, and yesterday was nice. My wife and I just kind of hung out and grilled and watched some Yankee baseball, badly played. Hello, Chris F. Grave, our Canadian correspondent. Not much change going on with the Pittsburgh Penguins so far. Going into another kick the can with Crosby, Malik, and Letang. It's funny, with the Rangers in such a disarray, I lose my interest in hockey. I don't know why. I mean, I still have some. I just don't. We haven't had Jim Bering around, and I apologize to Jim, and we kind of lost touch here a little bit. We were doing once a month Friday show, and Jim wasn't able to make it one time, and then I didn't do a show, and when that would have come up, and so it's kind of got fallen by the wayside. But we'll get Jim on. We'll get Jim on to talk college football too. Steelers signed their GM to a new 3-year contract because he's done such a great job. Yeah, you know what? The Steelers always had an identity. The Steelers were tough. The Steelers played defense. The Steelers ran the ball. Even when they had Big Ben, they still had an attitude and an aura and an identity. This seems to be a team in search of identity ever since Big Ben left, and maybe even before he left. This team wants to go 500 every year. They'll probably go 9-8 this year with Aaron Rodgers and some of their. I don't get the Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith trade. They've already got a tight end, and if they think Jonnu Smith's going to repeat last year's numbers, they should go back and watch the film from New England. So I have no doubt this team is good enough to be 9-8 and keep Mike Tomlin's record going. But that's what they're becoming known for, the team that plays 500 football, except for a season here or there. I did about PCA. Oh, Pete, I'm not good at acronyms, but I did get this one. It's a very interesting story to me. I had no clue. Good catch there, Paul. It was a really cool movie, I thought. There was one little big league. I can't remember the name of the other one where the kid became a pitcher because he fell and broke his arm, and it gave him some weird ability to throw the ball like 300 miles an hour. Good morning, John Gonzalez. How are you? Good to have you with us. Oh, what's on your mind today, John? Darren Waller comes out of retirement time, signed with the Dolphins, replaced Jonnu Smith. This should go well. Yeah. He was still a Giant, wasn't he? Didn't he have to be traded or not? I thought he retired with a contract, but I could be wrong. By the way, Darren Waller and Jonnu Smith are about the same player about now. I would be shocked if Jonnu Smith comes anywhere close to the numbers he put up last year. Not just because there's a better player in front of him. He is just not that good. he had a good year. Does that make you good? I don't know. Again, Candelario had a good year, signs a big contract, and can't play. 113 he's hitting. I gave him too much credit earlier. Happy birthday to West Coast legend Danny Fuller, as we said earlier. Yes, sir, John. He's one of the moderators on John's, and again, I mention all the time when John comes on, or even when John doesn't come on. So you can rest assured, John, when you're not here, you're still getting the same plugs you get when you're here. The sports authorities, the best group on Facebook or anywhere, social media, anywhere. John does a great job. Nostalgia. I mean, I know we've had our differences lately. It's all in good fun. Paul was worried about our relationship a little last week. John, I told him it's fine, at least for my end, because I enjoy the back and forth and the sparring. And I'll agree. If I agreed with everybody in the show, it'd be kind of boring, wouldn't it? Yep, I agree that Candelario is a great player, and he's going to be the answer for the Yankees at third base. Almost as Chris E. tidbits. Yes, very good. Chris has been, given that task. I got to do some new intros for the show, by the way. You said anything. I did say anything. Yes. No, you're good. And I have to get through the comments, so I don't want to spend a lot of time looking at quarterbacks. If that's what you're talking about, I'm certainly not putting that off. I mean, if I was going to give you 5 guys right now, just to make it quick, Klubnik, not Stanley Kubik. I can't even say his name now. Clade Kubik, Nussmeier in LSU. John Mateer is a guy to watch out for at Oklahoma, although they got 2 other guys you want to watch out too. One's named Hawkins. I don't remember the other guy's name. Penn State, obviously, Drew Alar. And probably, here's a guy I'm going to give you, and this is not out of the box. I think the front runner for the Heisman this year is Lenore Sellers, who reportedly turned down like $8 million with an unnamed program to transfer from South Carolina. So there's your 5 top ones to start that conversation, Paul. And if you want to go elsewhere, go ahead. I just don't want to dive too deep. Those are the top guys. Carson Beck in Miami. It's all going to depend on his health, I think. I got Arch Manning, obviously, in Texas. We still don't know what we have in Arch Manning. I would expect him probably to move into that upper echelon. This is like the 1B echelon. The other one's a 1A echelon, let's say. Interesting situation out in BYU, by the way, too. Their quarterback, they're really good quarterback. I think there's 2, if I'm not mistaken, there's like 2 Jewish students on all of BYU's campus. He's one of them. But he was accused of sexual misconduct, I guess, to put it lightly. But those charges were dropped. The suit was dropped. He wasn't charged with anything. He was sued. But he has decided to leave the program. So there's a couple guys for you to munch on. Any thoughts? Yeah, I think I mentioned, to me, Jalen Ramsey and Minkah Fitzpatrick is a bit of a wash. And maybe Jalen Ramsey will probably play well his first year there. Maybe better. And maybe Minkah's lost a little bit. But personally, I think I'm not a big fan of Jonnu Smith after watching him play for 3 years in New England and do it very poorly. Look, the Steelers are all in for this year, right? This is probably an indication of that. They think Ramsey might be a step above maybe what they think is a fading Fitzpatrick. And they want to back up for Oath. I can't. Without seeing his name in writing, I can't say it. I probably couldn't say it if I was looking at it. But I don't think John Smith is that good a player. He's a really good player on bad teams. He had a really good season on a bad Titans team before he went to the Patriots. Maybe the Titans weren't that bad yet, but did the commission override the no Wisconsin rule? I believe CA did override that. We do have to get Danny in here, though. Weaver blew up the other day. We have a few blow ups. Listen, Weaver has been, in my mind, outside of Judge. The first half MVPs for, and again, Judge is the MVP and makes the Yankees go. We know that. By the way, you watched him get walked five times in that Blue Jay series. And 4 times, I think, at least 4 times, he was a tying or winning run when they walked him, which you just don't do. And the last guy I saw this happen to was Barry Bonds when he was hitting 73 home runs. And Jack talked about last Friday about eliminating the intentional walk. You can't eliminate the intentional walk. If I think the best way for my team to win is to walk your best player every time he comes up, that's what I'm going to do. Then it's your job to get better players behind him so you don't walk them anymore. You can't take away one of the most strategic plays in baseball. You diametrically change the game. I already have a problem with all these rule changes. Jack wanted to do this. We might get into it again at some point. No, we're not going to change that rule. Weaver did again. Weaver and Grisham were the first half MVPs outside of Aaron Judge. The team that kept his team alive, afloat. Goldschmidt had some good moments in the first half, obviously. He's starting to fade a little bit right now. Jazz is getting hotter now. But I would say, and Fried, I guess, too. I can't leave Fried out, but because he was winning games. He was like Ron Guidry for a while in 1978. Every time he won a game, it was following a Yankee loss. Listen, the Yankees should have been trading for starting pitching before Schmidt went down because I don't trust Rondon a little bit. Schmidt has had some back issues before now, the arm injury. Will Warren, who I like a lot, he did blow up the other night. I think we'll get past this. He's pitched pretty well the last month. But he's a kid. Stroman, I don't trust at all. Heel, I have no idea what we're going to get when he comes back. Yankees should be trading for starting pitching, relief pitching, and a third baseman. Go find them, Brian Cashman. That's your job. You keep putting together these teams year after year that are flawed in ways that I can't even comprehend, and Aaron Boone won't call guys out. These guys don't know how to run the bases. They don't hit with guys in scoring position. And we don't even field in the clutch anymore. And again, it's not just 6 games, by the way. If I'm not mistaken, this team is like 6-16 over its last 22, something like that. It starts to be a bigger sample size, and it's July 6th. It's not May. You went from 5 games ahead to 3 games behind pretty quick. I'm not saying they're done. The wild cards give everybody a freaking chance, number one. And you get the playoffs and you get hot. But this team's not built to win the way it's built right now. And the thing, too, John, is there's not going to be a lot of frontline starting pitchers available out there. And if you get one, he's going to be a guy in a down year like Gallen. Who else? I don't think Baltimore's going to trade within a division. You're not going to get a Charlie Morton, who's pitched pretty well recently. I think Charlie Morton gets moved. I think he'll get moved back to Atlanta. So I'm trying to think of some other guys that are. I mean, I can't think of guys that are not on down years that would be available. Plus, everybody thinks you're a contender, right? I moved around the diamond, Paul, as I got older. It was kind of a natural progression, I guess. In high school and college, I played shortstop, and then later on, we played some semi-pro. I played shortstop and moved to third base, and then I moved to first base. Played baseball into my late 20s, and then fast pitch softball until I was about 37. It's old. When Ron Kittle, there's a name, a blast from the past. Was a prospect. It took 127 games and 50 home runs for him to get called up for the last 2 weeks of the MLB season. I believe that was with the White Sox. Ron Kittle had a couple of good years. Another guy the Yankees traded prospects for that didn't really work out. I like McMahon, quite frankly. I'm not sure about his defense so much. I think it's acceptable. But he's a decent stick, not a lot of power. But listen, John, I don't think you disagree with me. Jazz needs to be at second base. I like McMahon, and I'm sure McMahon's going to get moved. So go out and get him. Left-handed hitter, too, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. This is a guy who never really broke out. He's never turned into the player I think the Rockies thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be. He's a guy I was still I talk sometimes, I'm in some fantasy leagues now, one that Drew has. And before that, though, I was in the same dynasty league for 30 plus years. And we had very deep rosters. You had your 23-man roster, then you had a bench and farm system. So it was like 45 guys, and it was all auction. So you had salary caps and all that. But you would draft guys right out of high school, right? Keep them in your farm system. I had McMahon forever. Thought he was going to be a star. And to be fair, I didn't just pick guys like McMahon. I also had Miguel Cabrera when he was about 17 years old. Red Sox reached 10,000 wins as a franchise. Interesting tidbit. How many world champions has that produced? I don't think it's 27. But a nice milestone for the Red Sox. Where does that stay? How am I doing time-wise, by the way? I haven't looked yet. Am I way behind? 13. We're starting to fall 15 minutes behind. MLB team win all time. Where do they rank on the list, Drew? Now we need some perspective. Oh, the Yankees are first with 10,826, which has led to 27 world championships. They don't give me that here. Giants, Dodgers, Cardinals, and now are we sure the Red Sox? Oh, yeah, the Red Sox are there. And the Cubs are there as well. Guardians may never win another game. The Reds are there. Can I sort this by, geez, that's easier. Let's do it the right way. The Giants are number one. The Dodgers are number two. Sorry, Danny Fuller. The Cubs are third. The Cardinals are second. I'm sorry, fourth. Jeez, too math. Braves are. Why is this not coming out? Oh, I see. The ranking. I don't know why the rank over there is not right. This is wins. Reds. So those teams are all, and the Braves, by the way, are all over 11,000 wins. The Reds, Pirates, Yankees, Phillies, and now the Red Sox are all over 10,000. The next team to do it likely will be the Guardians, the team formerly known as the Indians, or the Tigers. Brian Hart. Good morning, Danny, and happy birthday to you, my good friend. I cheated your Dodgers out of a standing here in the all-time win list. I apologize. But happy birthday to our good friend, Danny Fuller. Great friend of the show he's become, as you all have. I love all you guys. Danny, did you try to get into the fantasy football league? I want to make sure that before we try to bring in some or expand our search that we allow you to get in. There's still 5 spots open. So please, if you let me know if you can't get in with the link I sent you here to your personal messenger the other day. I know Paul was able to get in with that, and you should be able to get in. But let me know if we have a problem. We'll try to figure it out for you. Rowdy Tellez gets another shot, this time with Texas. Desperation, my name is Rowdy. It's a good one, Drew. Happy birthday, not to me. Oh, this is to Danny. I'm not singing it, Paul. You can, if anybody wants to come on and sing happy birthday to Danny, I'll put a link up. Chris, good Novocaine birthday. Novocaine birthday Sunday to you. What do you got going on, Danny? You have dental issues? They suck. While injuries in Major League Baseball keep mounting, at least some are coming back. Carroll and Woodruff are back. Senga on the way. Senga, and as I mentioned at the top, Senga and Snell are potentially going to pitch this coming week. My guy Carroll is back. I might play him today. I don't know. Woodruff is a big move for the Brewers too. So he's still a Brewer, isn't he? Guys move so fast. I just don't know anymore. Facts. What's up with the Novocaine? Baez to PCA turned out to be one of the worst trades in New York Mets history. I would agree with that. We talked about this a while back, Danny, and you might have had it posted on your page. I don't remember. John, sorry. John Gonzalez had this posted, I think, to his page at one point. And I was there's several others, obviously, that you can point to. I think I got to give PCA a little bit more time before I say it's the worst trade. One of, for sure, as you say here, John. To me, the worst trade ever is going to be Nolan Ryan for Jim Fregosi. And I don't care the reasons. The result is still the worst trade in their history. One of the worst trades in Major League Baseball history. There's also Amos Otis for Joe Foy. Rusty Staub for Mickey Lolich. Staub wasn't done. I think the Mets thought Staub might have been done. They wanted a left-handed pitcher, and they got one that was washed up. I'm trying to think. I thought there was another one. People forget about Amos Otis for Joe Foy. Amos Otis was a damn fine player. But you're right. This one's turning out to be a bad one. Although Baez now is playing well for Detroit and has made the All-Star team. Go figure. Dave Stieb was known to travel with an electric guitar. Well, there's a random fact for sure. Dave Stieb, by the way, underrated pitcher with the Blue Jays. It seemed over a 3-year span, he was like on the verge of a no-hitter like 20 times. It felt like there was 20 times he went in the ninth. I know it's not 20 times, but it felt like he went to the ninth inning 20 times in 3 years with a chance for a no-hitter. And heartbreak each time. But Dave Stieb was a really, really good pitcher for a decent period of time in Toronto for sure. Happy birthday. Are we singing again to Danny? Happy birthday again, Danny. And happy birthday to William Akins out there, one of our favorite followers. Well, Darren Waller was trash with the Giants. He was good with the Raiders, never played well with the Giants. That's what I thought. I think it was a sign and trade or whatever they call it in the NFL. I did think they got a draft pick, though. You know what? For the Giants to get anything out of a guy who retired is good. This is actually a good move for the Giants. The guy wasn't going to play, and if he did play, he was going to suck. What'd you all think about Tom Selleck's job? You know what? CA, I like that. Mr. Baseball, I think it was called, correct? I enjoyed that movie. If you don't know the story, he's a superstar in baseball who's time is up in Major League Baseball, and they trade him to Japan, and he has trouble learning the customs and doing what his new manager wants. He falls in love with the manager's daughter. But Tom Selleck had a pretty good swing, and as you know, if you watched Magnum PI, he was a big Detroit Tiger fan. So Tom Selleck is likely very happy with the Tigers being tied with the best record in baseball today. Good movie. Baseball movies, not in my top. Major League, Field of Dreams, just in the Sandlot. There are days they all swap in my Major League is third. I swap between Field of Dreams and the Sandlot as my favorite baseball movies. But Mr. Baseball is in my top 10 for sure. That's a good one. I don't know if we talked about baseball. We have talked about baseball movies probably. And the Major League franchise, Major League was good. Major League 2 was okay. Then it really stunk after that. As I said, Little Big League, I liked a lot. That's in my top 10. There was another one I was going to. Oh, I really liked Bull Durham, obviously, is in the top 10. And the other one with Kevin Costner, where he's pitching a no-hitter and his life is flashing behind him. I think we talked about this, and I can never remember the name of this movie. He's pitching a no-hitter in for the Tigers in Yankee Stadium, I believe. John Gonzalez, the GQ of sports authorities, and I think all of social media, by the way, Danny. I think John Gonzalez would qualify for that. I got to get John. And you guys out in California, Wisconsin, I don't know what I can do. But when I retire, and I've been saying, I know we haven't had a little get-together in a couple of years, at least since I moved. I know that. But I keep saying we're going to have a little get-together for the local guys here, and we are. And I would love to get John to come up and have a couple of beers with us, or a couple of sodas, whatever you do, just to hang out and meet guys like Drew and Rick and Billy. Well, we don't see much of Kenny anymore. Maybe Mark Robertshaw, maybe a few others who can pop in. Love that. And Danny and Chris and Chris, you're not as far away as Danny and them, but it's still a good drive. I'd love to have you guys come in, but I don't see how that's going to happen. But we could figure it out. We could do a virtual thing where you guys can join us. Good morning, Matt. Good to have you with us. Another country of California heard from you and Danny. You're here early today, Matt. Good to have you with us. Matt, by the way, Yankee fan out in San Diego. They suck at the moment. They'll probably get it back. I wasn't pissed at John. We don't get pissed. Listen, here's the thing you got to remember about me. I'm very passionate about the things I believe. I'm not always right. And you've all heard this, I think. John's heard this, that I go by the Billy Packer axiom that I'm sometimes wrong, but never in doubt. I think John lives by the same axiom, by the way. And sometimes that's going to lead to interactions. And I just wasn't getting my point across the right way last week. I'm going to blame myself. But John and I, and anybody, I've been into it with Paul. I get into it with Danny. I get into it with everybody. Drew, Billy, Rick. I've been into it. Everybody that are my great loyal followers. And I'm going to continue to get into it because it's fun to do that. This is an outlet. I can't go yell at my wife, so I'm going to yell at John Gonzalez and Billy Pulver. John knows where this is at. Look at that. See, I know Paul was worried. And I get worked up. I wouldn't say pissed. I wasn't pissed. I get worked up. I'm very passionate. And it's hard for me when I'm misunderstood. And sometimes I butcher the English language, so I get it. John is my boy. John Gonzalez. Let me go back to John Gonzalez for a second, just so I want Paul to understand, and anybody. We got a really good live audience today. I want everybody to understand that. Forgot what I was going to say. Oh, John Gonzalez. When I started doing this 5 years ago now, John was one of the first guys to, ask me to share my show on his with his group. John's been one of the biggest supporters of this show pretty much from the day I started. And I will always remember John for that and appreciate John for that and thank John for that. And that doesn't mean I won't get into arguments with John when we disagree. That's just who I am. And by the way, I argue with people all the time. And then when it's over, it's over. I don't hold grudges. I don't, I'm just not that kind of guy. I go off the handle and I'm done. Wayne Grotzky had the most misleading name for a hockey player. He wanted to become chief of the fire department in Alberta. Well, the real Gretzky started some fires. Now, see, here's what's happened, Paul. You came up with this little big league information, and Chris is working overtime to come up with irreverent, not irrelevant, irreverent information, which I have asked him to do, and he has done a great job of. Thank you. Yes, Sellers, I'm hearing a ton. What is that? We're back to college football. Gotcha. This kid is really good, by the way. John's got Arch to win the Heisman. I'm going to pick Lenoris right now until Arch shows me something. I mean, again, I have no doubt Arch Manning is going to be a great, great player, right? And he's playing with one of the best teams in the country. There's no reason to think he's going to fail, and I don't think he will. The question is going to be, and again, a lot of the guys that we think are going to be good now are not going to be good, and a lot of guys, there's going to be guys who we thought nothing about who are going to come into the national spotlight. Arch Manning is not sneaking up on anybody, and the times we've seen him have been very limited. A meaningful action has been very minimal, but he's played well in those moments. And I have no reason to think that he won't excel. And if he wins a Heisman, then the question is going to be, will he come back to try for a second? Arch Manning likes it at Texas. Arch Manning, if he does have this kind of year, John, Arch Manning is going to be an interesting test case. Because NIL money, which it's going to be interesting what happens with the NIL money now that we have revenue sharing basically as well in college sports. It's going to be interesting to see how the NIL pans out. Georgia, I think it was Georgia. One major program is really kind of getting rid of their NIL consortium because of the revenue sharing they already have to do. But if Arch Manning has that type of year next year, John, it'll be interesting test case to see, is there enough money to keep him at some place he loves, which is Texas, before he turns pro prematurely. Here comes one of my favorite moments. What time is it, by the way? I got to see the times. Sorry, Drew, I had to take that down so I can see the time. I'm falling 20 minutes behind now. So, guys, if you put up a comment, especially I see a lot of new viewers out there, if you put up a comment, do not run away. I'll get to it, I promise you. I don't skip any comments as the regulars can attest. Today's birthdays. Brandon Lowe. Nice player. Not a great player, but a nice player. Has filled in for me fairly well. Andrew Benintendi Benintendi, former Red Sox, Yankee, and I think he's currently still with the White Sox. never quite became the player I don't think that we thought he might when he was with the Red Sox. Excuse me, Manny Machado, obviously. Manny with a shot at. Geez, what's he going to... Again, guys aren't going to hit 500 home runs. Well, they might hit 500 home runs. They're not going to hit... Manny might have a shot at 500. But some of these records we talked about, or Clayton Kershaw getting to 3,000 hits, or 3,000 strikeouts. 3,000 hits would have been a big story. It's not going to happen again. I mean, who's going to get there? Think about it. 500 home runs, maybe we'll still see those, but the pitching records, they're done. Wins. And please, don't be changing our criteria for a win. I know it's been talked about. Greg Norton, I believe first baseman Omar Olivares. He was a bench player, I want to say, for the Braves and some others. Lance Johnson, nice left-handed hitting outfielder. Not a great player, but a decent player. Willie Randolph, very underrated. One of the most underrated players, I think, in his era. Wasn't flashy, didn't hit for high averages, although he did hit for a really high average, I believe, in Milwaukee late in his career. Wasn't a power hitter, didn't drive in a bunch of runs, stole bases, but didn't steal a bunch. You know what Willie did? You know what Willie was really good at? Playing the game of baseball. Teams need guys like Willie Randolph. Willie Randolph was a key cog to that Yankee, those Yankee championships in the 70s. Jason Thompson, power hitting first baseman with the Tigers and the Pirates. John Boozer, I believe, was a pitcher. Household names: Cardell Camper, no idea. Adolphus Grimes, Shirley Petway, Square Moore, and Shovel Hodge. Good ones. Tell me how I did. I don't know. There's no way to know. My sense is he'll be great. I've sensed that, but you never know until a guy plays. I think he's for real. But again, he's got to play and perform. Right? I don't think there's any reason to think it's all hype either. I didn't list him in my top echelon only because the other guys have been there and done this. Mostly at a high level. Extremes, Blue Jays 9-1 with 7 in a row, Guardians 1-9 with 9 in a row. I mentioned this earlier. The Blue Jays have gone from, the cellar to the first place in the last 6 weeks. Been playing really good baseball. And you know what's different? You know why you watched that Yankee Blue Jay series during the week, and you saw why this team is winning and the other team is struggling. Because the Blue Jays averaged like 5 or 6 strikeouts a game, and the Yankees averaged 10 or 11. In a couple games, it was 5 to 12. That extra 7 outs, you think that means nothing, right? Oh, it was only 7 strikeouts. Well, when you put the ball in play, you know what can happen? Anything. When you strike out, nothing can happen except you walk back to the dugout and sit down. When you put the ball in play, you put pressure on the defense. And the Blue Jays are really good at that. That's what they do. They got a couple big stars in Vlad and Springer. But look at the lineup. And you go, the lineup doesn't scare me. You know what they do, though? They put pressure on the other team. That's baseball, by the way. Greg Norton got nailed on the Mitchell report. I don't remember that. And you know what? Goes to show how rampant roids were. Here's the thing about the Mitchell report, Chris. And you kind of touch on it here. It does go to show you how rampant the roids were, but it doesn't give you the full picture because it only named, I guarantee you that there were dozens, if not hundreds, more players using steroids than what were named in the Mitchell report. And we never will know. That's the problem. When we don't know everybody that was doing it, there's no way the Mitchell report got every guy. At least dozens more, if not 100 more. And when I don't know who's doing it and who's not, well, then either all of them get in or none of them get in that are deserving to the Hall of Fame I'm talking about. And again, I am not saying they should be allowed to use steroids, by the way. Drew Ellen, it's so, is this, you're born the same day as Sly Stallone? I got to tell you, Sly's had a nice little comeback here with Tulsa King. Tulsa King, if you don't watch Taylor Sheridan's shows, you're missing out on such good content. All the Yellowstone shows, Mayor of Kingstown, Tulsa King with Sly is a great show. Lioness. There's some other new ones I'm not even thinking of right now. Landman. Great shows, guys. Check it out. All short seasons, too, you know? Some of them are 7 episodes. Some are 11. Cubs leading run differential with 115. The Tigers are second at 101. AL Central only divisions with 5 teams at 500 or above. You know, the NL West has really kind of fallen apart here, hasn't it? I mean, I think the Dodgers, boredom's going to be the Dodgers' biggest issue here. Padres and the Giants both 8 games back. The Padres haven't played very well. Got off to a great start. I got to believe they're probably under 500 since April. Or maybe 500. The Giants have been stumbling as well recently. Boredom will be their biggest thing to worry about. Matt, Yanks make me pull my hair out. I don't have any hair, but if I had it, and more Aaron Boone. I cannot watch post-game Aaron Boone anymore. I mean, Jesus God. I don't want him. Listen, I don't want him getting into public disputes. I don't want him to be Billy Martin out there. But let's hold guys accountable once in a while. Stop telling me every team goes through this. Listen, it's not just 6 games. It's like a 25-game skid here. Aaron, thank you for doing the math for me today. I didn't do it. That's not 150. Unless they won a bunch in a row, that can't be right, Drew. Hold on. I hate to be the Perth grad that calls out your math. I guarantee it's more than 115. 162 times 0.225. They're in a pace to lose 126 games. 36 and 126 is the pace they're on right now. You got to check your math there, Drew. When a Perth grad beats you, there's something wrong. But then I have a calculator. I have a calculator from 1981. Anyway. Rockies 2-8 in their last 10. They're not going anywhere fast. Cubs Tigers World Series, possible. Be interesting. Cubs playing some great baseball. Yankees are going to get them soon. I like this Cubs team a lot, actually. I think they've got some guys that know their roles. I think they've got some pretty good starting pitching, and I think they've got a decent bullpen. I think they've got everything that you need. I think their defense in the infield is pretty good. And I don't know that the Brewers that are chasing them at 4 games behind are going to stay with them. But that's not a bad pick, although I think they're going to have trouble getting by the Dodgers. Dodgers are the best team in baseball. Tigers might be, I would say the Tigers are probably second best. Dealing with some injuries right now. Gotten some really surprising play out of Glaber and Baez. By the way, just because Torres is playing, here's another thing. I'm listening to guys in some of the Yankee groups say, we never should have traded Glaber. When last year they couldn't wait to get rid of Glaber. Well, guess what? There is zero reason to think Glaber would be doing what he's doing in Detroit in New York. It's just different here. And once you go bad, it's hard to go back. Anyway, I like the Tigers in the American League right now. I do think I picked the Orioles again this year. But I did pick the Dodgers in the National League. Somehow I tossed out all my picks with some of my old notes. That's what happens when you got a gazillion notes laying around. Could catcher Henry Davis with the Pirates come alive with more playing time elsewhere? First round pick. It's hard to say. I mean, I don't know that when you haven't seen enough, could he? Sure. Will he? Don't know. He's only got 116 at bats, hitting 198. Does have 4 home runs. 116 at bats. Again, I don't know what to make of Henry Davis. I don't know enough about him. Drew dives into some of these guys a little deeper than I do these days. Again, when I was in the Dynasty League, I could have told you about almost every minor leaguer that was out there. He's reached 25 years old. Hard to say, Chris. I'm going to say anybody could potentially take a jump if they were to get a different situation and more playing time. John Gonzalez, the DH should be eliminated. Bring back the pinch hitter. Bring back strategy. It used to be fun to see whom would come out of the dugout to pinch hit for a pitcher. Thank you, John. This is one place we will not disagree. Unfortunately, my time machine is broken and we can't go back to 1970. What year? 73. No, 75, I guess, as far as we got to go back. Am I right? Yeah. When was it? 76 was the first year of the DH, right? Look at, yeah, we had these arguments that, and one of the reasons nobody will strike out, 5,000 guys again is because there's no, well, first of all, they won't pitch enough, but pitchers don't hit. One of the fun parts of baseball to me was pitchers that were all-around athletes. Tom Seaver, Rick Wise, Ken Brett, not a great pitcher, but a pretty good hitter. You got some guys today that are pretty good hitters, and Michael Lorenz and a few others. Ohtani. You should need to be some kind of complete player. And pitchers could contribute while getting base hits, being able to bunt. We've lost the nuances of the game. The nuances of the game are gone. The bunt, the hit and run, hitting behind a runner, moving a guy from second base to third base and just giving yourself up. We've lost all that. We don't play for any of that anymore. And I agree 100%. I would like to. It'll never happen. You know why? Because it's going to cost jobs, and the players' union will never agree to that. Plus, baseball thinks offense is all that sells the game. Probably because young people, unfortunately, have the. I'm sorry if you're offended. It's not my problem. It's yours. Young people have got the attention span of a freaking gnat. There's nothing wrong with a baseball game that's played 2-1, well played. We don't see well played 2-1 games even now. Well pitched, well defended. Move runners around, scratch out runs. That's the way I grew up playing baseball. But, the powers that be think that, and maybe they're not wrong, that young people can't stand the pace of the game. They have to see 10-9 games and ESPN highlights and video game type. Ugh, don't get me going. We're on the same page, John. I'd like to think so, Chris Evgrave, but unfortunately his hitting skills just won't hold up no matter where he plays. Some power, but can't connect consistently. Well, again, guys do. You're not going to get better not playing. I'm not saying they should play him. And the Pirates suck anyway. But I can't make it. I won't make it. Drew can make a definitive answer. I won't. I would say I doubt it. It's possible his skills would not hold up no matter where he plays. It's also possible that with playing time and better coaching, he actually learns to put the ball on the bat. But what his problem is, making consistent contact is a problem for a lot of players today. And by the way, a direct result of what I just talked about. This game barely resembles a game that I grew up playing. Barely. And I'm telling you, there's days they're this close to losing me. There's days I think if I didn't need to talk about it on this show, I wouldn't freaking follow baseball. I'm a little over the top today, but again, probably never going to happen. I've said that a lot in the last 30 years, believe it or not. Good morning, Anthony. Good to have you with us. How are you, my friend? Anthony's alive and well. Danny, did you answer me about the you didn't answer me, and maybe a question, maybe it's in the answers coming up, but because I'm like a half an hour behind. I got to pick it up a little here. I'm about a half an hour behind. Oh, wait. Danny, I did ask you about the football league, though. Drew Ehrlich, connect 240. You're considered a good hitter today. Not by this guy. That's why I should be running baseball, and you should be running baseball, Danny. Because that's not good. William Pulver, the team with the most losses in Major League Baseball history is the Philadelphia Phillies. Where's my ranking? I still have it up here, I think, don't I? Did I get rid of it? No, here it is. Good call, Billy. I should have brought that up. Phillies and the Braves are 400 behind them. Interestingly enough, the team that's in first in wins is also in the top 10 in losses. The two top teams, three of the top 5 teams. I guess that makes sense. They've been playing the longest, right? Good call, Billy. Billy, you should get in the fantasy football league, by the way. If you're interested, drop me a line. Put it in the comments here. I'll be happy to put it there for you. Davies hitting 198. So again, in 100 at bats. I mean, how many at bats has he had? That's all he's got in his entire career. I don't know if he's any good or not. He's probably not. But again, I'm not trusting the evaluators of the Pittsburgh Pirates to tell me this guy can't play. Good morning again, Billy. Despite slowdown, Judge leads the ratios 361, 471, 37. Listen, he's going to have trouble if they don't get guys hitting behind him. Goldschmidt slowed down. Bellinger's been okay. Made I don't remember who it was, pay a couple weeks ago when they walked Judge into end the game. But Judge is going to get walked a lot. Judge already has 20. Well, this was before the Met game. This was like as of Friday or Thursday, maybe. At least as of Thursday, he had 23 intentional walks. He's already tied Mickey Mantle for the most intentional walks in Yankee history. He's going to see a lot more of it in the second half. David Booth now with the Melbourne Ice has some hilarious stats, 41 points in 9 games. Have they started playing their regular seasons out there in Australia, Chris? I'm assuming they have. Soto leads Major League Baseball in walks with 72. Some things never change. Swing the bat a little bit. Walks are important, but here's another problem with the game today. Walks have become, and I know guys like Sparky Anderson like walks, and walks can shake up a pitcher. But when you got guys on base, your job, Juan Soto, is to drive in runs. So you have to expand your strike zone a little bit. Not crazy. You don't swing at pitches over your head and in the dirt. But your job isn't to walk with guys in scoring position. Unless there's a guy behind you like Judge, which there isn't on the Mets. Yes, try the link I sent you to just you, Danny, should work. I'll send it to you again if you need me to. Well, I think now I'm going to defend John, apparently. It's one of the worst trades the Mets have ever made. I named, again, nothing's going to surpass Nolan Ryan for Jim Fregosi. And again, it's possible if Pete Crow Armstrong has a long, illustrious career, it will move up or past Nolan Ryan, possibly. Right now, it hasn't passed Amos Otis for Joe Foy. But it's one of the worst trades they've made, for sure. I'm not sure how we can argue that. See, 1 week I'm all over John, the next week I'm backing him up. Hunter Brown's the only pitcher below 2.0 with 1.82. What is that? Oh, 1.82 ERA. Skeens is closer. 2.03. They'll probably be teammates in a couple of years when the Pirates unload Skeens. Tiger Woods on Jack Nicklaus. Is it Jack simply because he has 18 majors, or is it general appraisal? Simply that person had more talent and applied it better than anybody. It's both. Tiger's the only guy who's come close to the 18 majors that Jack has. By the way, Jack Nicklaus also finished second in majors like 30 sometimes. Or maybe more. But it also is a general appraisal. Jack Nicklaus was head and shoulders above everybody in his generation, just like Tiger was when he was hot. I like the golf. Bring the golf, Chris. And thank you, Love, for the love of the game. I always forget the name of that movie. Great one. The Natural is another great one. Thank you, John. Definitely in my top 10. A little unbelievable. A lot of them are, but well, if I say Field of Dreams is great, and today I still think The Sandlot's going to be number one for me. When my life is over and I have to come up with a final list, I think The Sandlot will eke out Field of Dreams. Just because it was like my childhood. That was me. Zach Little for the Rays has some interesting stats. Leads MLB in HRs given up, but has only 15 walks. Well, maybe you should walk some more guys. I would wonder why. I'm assuming he's starting at 111 innings pitched. Why would he be? That's the Rays. I mean, the Rays are in contention, and they're still going to make that's the Rays' MO, right? They trade. They really aren't sellers. They can be sellers and buyers at the same time. So this is a guy I would not want to see in New York. They're not going to trade him within the division anyway, I don't think. I'm not sure who to get the Yankees. Look at Zach Gallen is going to probably end up pitching here and getting hammered. Maybe Alcantara, they think, will change the scenery. We'll get him back on track. I like Cabrera right now a lot with the Marlins. Three Stooges. Pardon my scotch. Excellent, Billy. That's an excellent choice. I'm trying my best to catch up here. Happy birthday to Danny again. Michael Conforto still leads. Well, I think trails. It shouldn't be trails in batting average. Luis Robert hitting a robust 185. Marquez leads. That's a pretty good ERA, I guess, in Toronto. I don't know. Zach Gallen. That's what I said. You know what? I can see Zach Gallen being a Yankee. Not a lot of potential pitchers to get traded that are having a halfway decent year. I do know you're from Orange County. Not Orange County here in downstate New York either. I know that. Actually, maybe I'm wrong. And maybe I assumed you were talking about Orange County, LA, or California all this time. Maybe are you a train? I don't know if I ever found this out. Now I feel like I know this. When you said Orange County, I've always thought you meant LA. Maybe you mean Orange County, New York. And here's our weekly Luke Voigt update. He was lured away from Mexico to Japan, where he becomes Mr. Baseball. Some other first baseman free agents. J.D. Martinez doesn't play first base. Anthony Rizzo's career is over. JD's not playing first base. If JD plays, it's going to be with a bat. I mean, he hasn't. We went through this a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, Chris? He hasn't played the field in years. Let me check it out. Hang on, bear with me. My mouse is giving me problems this morning. JD Martinez. Doesn't even give me field. There we go. All right, last time he played in the field was in 2017, which is, by my math, 8 years ago. And he played right field. He's never played first base. Anyway, I enjoyed the Luke Voigt update. I'm glad to know he's in Japan, which, by the way, is a better class of baseball probably than Mexico, although there's decent baseball being played there. I think Trevor Bauer, Jack Bauer, if you know who that is, you win today's prize. Trevor Bauer, I believe, is in some hot water wherever he's pitching again. Chris Sale's around 2,600, but Chris Sale's, I mean, he needs to pitch, so he needs to strike out 400 more guys. I don't think he's going to have that. He's injured again. I did bring this up, by the way. So you got Sale at 25, 28. So that's considerably short. That's at least 3 seasons of full-time starting probably for Chris Sale. At least 3. Probably 4. Garrett Cole's at 2,200, and he's 34 years old. 2,250. Not getting there. Charlie Morton's 41. Not getting there. Yu Darvish, not getting there. I'm going to say I'll give Sale a fighting chance because I've written him off once. Stan's the closest to 500. He's always hurt. Doubt he gets it. I don't think he gets it either. John, I got to get caught up on these active HR leaders. There's more. Listen, the hitting stats are more likely to get reached than the pitching stats. It just makes sense, right? Stan's at 430, not going to get there. Trout, 391, not going to get there. Paul Goldschmidt, 370, not going to get there. Manny, I think, has the best shot at 32 years old with 356. I mean, if he averages 30 for 5 years, which isn't undoable, he's going to be at 500. Freddie Freeman, doubtful. Ariando, I think Judge will get to 500 if he doesn't get hurt. Bryce Harper with a shot. Then I'm trying to find some young guys on this list. Then it's going to be a crapshoot because guys are in the 250s, right? And old. I mean, the youngest guys on this list. I mean, I get down to 182. There's nobody in their 20s with 180 home runs. Carlos Correa has 194 at 30. I'm sorry. Cody Bellinger has 209. He's 29 years old. His big home run years are behind him, I think, though. Willie Randolph was a good player. Consistent. Knew his job. He was a baseball player. That's all you can say. You know, there aren't many baseball players out there today. He was a great table setter and a really good defensive player and a leader, a quiet leader on the teams he was on. Shame. It's a shame Willie Randolph is not a one franchise guy, by the way. I would have bet my life at the time Willie would be a franchise guy. And he ended up playing with how many teams? Dodgers, Brewers, Mets. Did he play a season with the A's? Not even sure. Vlad Guerrero Jr. Which one is this guy? Again, Vladdy. So Guerrero named all his kids Vlad something, I guess. Apparently, he's a George Foreman of baseball. This come up on Friday. Didn't we talk about this guy? 6'2", 220-pound first baseman. I can't find any current numbers. He's only 18. Imagine the size of this kid when he fills out. Hold on. Let me find him. We can look at his minor league numbers real quick here, Chris. Chris F. Grave, the voice that makes the world go. This guy has got so many different voices. He'll leave me little messages on Facebook Messenger, voice messages, and that's not Vladdy. How do I find him? Let's see if this. No, that's not him. That's the other Vladdy. Huh. Not sure I'm going to find him, Chris. 2016, 2000. No, I guess we're not going to find him. Vladimir, 2021. This can't be him. How old is he? 20. No, this guy was a pitcher. No, I can't find anything either. He's got to be playing the minor leagues. I don't know why we can't pull him up. The baseball reference is letting me down. I don't like that. The last list of names played when Jack was teaching school. Jack, we love you. I say let the steroid era guys get in. John, you're on my page today. We go from being all over the map with each other to right on the same page. I say let them all in. You actually believe these stars were the only ones on steroids? I do not. I believe almost, I would say 75%. Based on what I've read and heard, 75% of the league was on steroids. And Bonds was a Hall of Famer before he ever did steroids. McGuire, Clemens, A-Rod, Canseco, I prefer these guys over Harold Baines. Thank you, John Gonzalez. Dodgers, Astros leading batting average with 261. Dodgers lead HRs. I'm going to go through these quickly, Drew, because I got to get caught up a little bit. In 2014, Babe Ruth hit his first professional home run into Lake Ontario on Hanlon Point Field. Hanlon Point is now Toronto's lone nudist beach. That might have fit the Babe afterwards. Babe Ruth, actually, when he was kind of barnstorming, played here in upstate New York, up in Sportsman's Park, I believe they called it, which is on the Sacandaga Lake where Sport Island Pub is now, a restaurant, and there's a bunch of restaurants up there near the Northville Bridge. There was a huge facility there, again, I believe called Sportsman Park, and he was there barnstorming a couple of summers. Or a couple of, not summers, but off season. Don't forget the loss of the double switch. Thank you, Drew. Another great one. It was huge. There's no strategy in baseball anymore. The only thing you have to worry about is freaking when to pull a pitcher out, which, by the way, all you got to do is look at your index card and say, not yet. Great one, though, Drew. Double switch, huge. I watched the Asterix put a runner over and manufacture a run. That's awesome. When? Listen, I mean, if I got to have stupid rules like putting a runner on second base in extra innings, why isn't anybody bunting him to third base? You know why? They don't know how to bunt. Analytics say by the way, I was really happy to see there's been a lot of questions on Facebook and some of the baseball groups I'm in about overrated statistics. And I'm shocked that I'm not the only one who thinks WAR is. Probably 60% of the answers to the question was WAR. Just an FYI. Made up stats. When baseball was in its infancy as a sport for a period of time, the home plate umpire would make his call standing behind the pitcher, which we had Little League as well, by the way, Chris, but you're absolutely right. And I think he would make all the calls. And that's what we had in Little League. There'd be one guy making all the calls at all the bases. Danny agrees about the DH, but no, it will never happen, as I said. It'll never happen for two reasons. As I said, the idiots who run Major League Baseball think that everybody's got the attention span of a gnat, so young people are not going to be interested. And also the Players Association would never allow it because it's going to eliminate a bunch of jobs. Although you would have more pitchers, theoretically, bench players, but it would bring down salaries for those people. John Gonzalez, baseball has become a joke. The 80s, how about the 70s? To me, and again, it's probably because of my age, Danny, and I think John and Drew can at least understand where I'm coming from. To me, 70s was the golden age of baseball. Probably because I grew up during that time, but good morning, Dave Guyette. We've been talking a lot about your Yankees, and they stink. Well, they're my Yankees, too. Good to have you, Dave. By the way, Dave Guyette, as I mentioned earlier, you were not here. Your Syracuse Orangemen with a huge signing. The fourth best player in the 26 recruiting class, a wide receiver in a recruiting class. Calvin Russell has, at least for now, agreed to attend Syracuse University. Stanky's easy part of the schedule coming up after the All-Star break. I'm not so sure, though, Danny. Got the Cubs, I think, coming up right after the All-Star break. Let me see what's coming up. Maybe they got the Cubs before the All-Star break. That might be what I was thinking. Full schedule. Where are they? Well, why can't I see the rest of the schedule? Don't you hate that? Can I see it all, please? I want to see the whole thing. These guys. So now I only started June 18th. Well, that's right after the All-Star break, right? They got Atlanta. They got Toronto again. The 21st. Philadelphia. Tampa. Well, it doesn't look easy to me. This could last a while. I think they got the Cubs heading into the break. Chris Fgrave with the ice. Where is political in America? Us today. By the way, Cesar Chavez Jr., who fought Jake Paul last weekend and lost, and the story was Jake Paul really, and whether he's trying to get into mainstream boxing and get a real shot at a title, which is never going to happen. But the story became Cesar Chavez Jr. because he was arrested 2 days later by ICE because he's got a warrant, several warrants for him. His arrest in Mexico, and he's part of one of the biggest Mexican drug cartels out there. So ICE might be a political word. It's not a dirty word. Rangers lead in ERA 3.22. You see where that's gotten them. The Mets and Giants 77 home runs. On the flip side, the Rockies at 5.53 in the A's. There you tells you why they're horrible, right? We talked about them playing a major league ballpark, and I think you were bringing up at one point that the dimensions weren't that far off of, I don't remember what stadiums we were talking about. Maybe I'm misremembering the whole thing, and it might even been somebody else. But the thing is, when you got single decks and the balls just carry differently. I had to watch one series when the Yankees went out there to know that is nothing close to a major league ballpark. The Orioles are going up 122. The A's are third worst at 118. Guess those temporary parks are launching pads. Not surprising. Everything's a launching pad now because we build the entire game around scoring runs. Oh, I hate it. What about the forgotten breed professional hitter who would lead off as a DH? Not born to MASH group. Rance Mulliniks. I have him doing very well in a Strato 365 league right now. He is my leadoff hitter and playing actually shortstop against righties and hitting really well. But Doherty, Madigan, I remember them all. But can we get rid of we still can get rid of the DH. The DH, it's funny, the DH, and it was never going to stay this way, right? But when the American League brought the DH in, one of the things they were trying to accomplish was to keep some of the old aging stars in the game. That's why the Players Union was all for it. And they could keep some of these named guys like Hank Aaron, Tony Oliva, Harmon Killebrew, Orlando Cepeda, Rico Cardi, to name a few of the early DHs. There's a bunch more. But it was kind of put in for that purpose. But then teams quickly realized, well, we got other players that aren't good defensive players, so they should be DHs. I mean, Ron Blomberg, who was the first DH, actually had injuries issues, but he was not certainly of the age of the guys I just mentioned. And there's some others. The Yankees, one of their first DHs outside of Bloomberg was Jim Ray Hart, who was a semi-star in the National League for a few years. Chris F. Curry bringing the nice. Stankies will just stay put. Yeah, and if they do, they're not going to win. They're not going to win this division. They're not going to win a playoff series the way this team is constructed today, with the pitching issues, injuries, non-performance in the bullpen. Two guys, Jazz playing third base, weakening two positions defensively. Volpe swinging from his shoes. Wow. I can mention at least 10 horrible trades by the Mets during their existence without Googling, by the way. I didn't Google mine. I only came up with 3 off the top of my head. I gave you 4 off the top of my head. I'm sure I could do more. What I said is one of the worst trades. Agreed. Well, I forgot about Tom Seaver. That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, the reason I think Seaver wasn't necessarily a horrible trade was Seaver wanted out, right? See, Dick Young chased Tom Seaver out of New York. I don't need Google to tell me that. I lived it. Not a Met fan, but I certainly was a avid reader of the New York papers when I was 17 years old. And Dick Young basically chased Tom Seaver out of town. Mets had no choice but to trade him. You know, they got serviceable players for him. I would argue that every player they got for Seaver was better than Baez, at least a Met Baez. Better than what they got for Staub, better than what they got for Ryan, better than what they got for Otis. But they were great players. Still a bad trade. I would still say Ryan for Fergosi is the worst trade. Seaver's a good one, though. Seaver trade made on July 14th, 1977. They did get some players in return, by the way. Steve Henderson had a decent – he wasn't great. Pat Zachary wasn't great, but he wasn't horrible. Doug Flynn had a very long career with the Mets. Great defensive player. Couldn't hit a lick. Had Doug Flynn on my interview show. Great guy. Who else did they get? Nelson Norman. There was a guy named Norman that was part of that trade. It was supposed to be a big part of that trade, I think, John. That was that really didn't turn anything. I want to say Nelson Norman. I don't know if my memory's accurate or not. Again, I'm not saying it's a great trade, but they got more out of Steve Henderson, Pat Zachary, and Doug Flynn than they got out of Fergosi, or they got out of Mickey Lolich, or they got out of Joe Foy. That's all I'm saying. Again, it's a horrible trade, and you could argue and Seaver came back in his twilight. But absolutely, you're a Met fan. It's a devastating trade, and at the time, it's a more devastating trade than Otis for Foy or Ryan for Fergosi, because Ryan wasn't a great player yet. Otis wasn't a great player yet. Seaver was the franchise. So you're right. It may rank number one just because of that. That's what I thought. There's an Orange County, upstate New York, or not upstate New York, it's downstate New York. Amazing baseball takes Paul Spada's shift away, and players still. That's why you don't need to legislate. That rule was the stupidest. One of the. Sorry, I need to do what John Gonzalez did and say one of, because again, there are a lot of them. Bad rules. You don't need to eliminate the shift. Teach guys how to hit. Oh, my God. Right, Danny? Eliminate the shift. Now, and I don't know how many heard this at the top of the show. In my new show with Jack Hirsch, let me just put this up here and give us a little. Oh, shoot. I think I lost my. I did. Never mind. I lost my share. On Mondays and Fridays at 8 a.m. now, we're doing a new show, Jack Hirsch and myself, Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook. On Friday's show, Jack proposed eliminating the intentional walk, because we can't see guys like Aaron Judge walking intentionally 3 or 4 times a game. Yes, you can. It's part of baseball strategy, and it's your job to get guys who hit behind Aaron Judge that will keep them from walking Aaron Judge. You don't put rules in to what's the word I use all the time? Diametrically change the way the game is played. God, jeez. Framber's still stuck at 2 complete games. He'll probably be stuck there for the next 10 years, Drew. 5 teams had more than one complete game and have actually been 8 shutouts. Wow. Who posted the other day? Danny? The decline in teams hitting 250 since what? 1975 was you, Danny, put that up? Got the hiccups. It happens when I get worked up. Judge and Otani, I left out. What's Otani got right now, Danny? Where's Otani? I don't think Otani. How's Otani going to get there? He's 31 years old. How many home runs does he have? He's not even in the top 50. Oh, no, there he is. I'm sorry. My bad. He's got 255. He's 30 years old. I did miss him. Pretty good chance he gets there. Unless he hurts his arm and can't hit. Hurts his arm pitching, can't hit. I did miss out on Otani. Good catch. Good morning, Scott Kobe. How are you, my friend? How's things at the home? I escaped for the holiday weekend. I hope nobody's missed me. I stuffed a pillow under the covers of my bed. Great job on the shuffleboard. That chocolate trophy really looks good. Oh, in fantasy baseball, on the last day of matchups, Rick is whooping Drew's ass 14-5, and keeps fighting it out with the number 1 team at 9-11. I think I still got a few categories in play today. Take a look at that after the show. We got about 15, 16 minutes left. Drew Ehrlich's stats, hitting and pitching. 10 stats in hitting and pitching. I don't know what we're talking about there. Oh, in fantasy? I don't know how many categories there are. Too many. Too many interruptions for me today. I'll review later. Everyone have a great week. Hopefully everything's going well, CA. We'll get Danny in the football this week, hopefully. Danny, if you don't have that personal link, let me know. In fact, let me put it right in here and have you try it if I can get there. Hold on. Let's see if I can get there. Let me see if I can get there real quick. I know this is going to throw me off, but hold on. Here we go. It should take a second if it works right. Invite. Copy. I was going to let anybody in, Danny, so make sure you get in right away. I don't want Danny Fuller not in the league. I'm going to post it right here. We got 5 spots left. Go do it now, Danny. You're going to see it pop up in the, I think you're going to see it pop up in the comments in a second. So Nick Botkins is out of fantasy football, but Tanner Dawson is in. CA, if you're still there, we need to remove Nick's nifty team from the league. In fact, maybe I can do it. I don't know. Tanner is in. Thanks for that update, by the way, Scott. I appreciate it. We did get confirmation from some others that they were in, so we should be good. So hopefully that popped up. Danny, go to that link right now while we're talking. Let me know if you can get in. Who do I foresee? Anybody? No, never. Nobody. Chris Sale's got 25-55 or something like that. We were just talking about Scott, and nope, don't foresee anybody. I think we'll never see 3,000 strikeouts again. Sale might get it. He'd have to get healthy and have 4 good years, probably. 3 good years would be, let's see, struck out 150. I guess he could have 3 good years of 150 strikeouts, but that's not a given with him right now. If it's not Chris Sale, it's nobody. By the way, the Rockies and White Sox game was a great way to spend the 4th of July instead of fireworks. What a tremendous series. Just kidding. I agree. This, again, would be what Pete Axelm, the former handicapper on NBC Sports, would say was the broken windshield special. Again, I'll describe it for those who have not heard it. We got a lot of viewers, new viewers on today. Broken windshield special is when you get out of your car. You have 2 tickets to the game on your dashboard. You lock your car, you leave, you get to the stadium, realize you left your tickets on the dashboard of your car, and you come back and you find your windshield smashed, and there's now 4 tickets instead of 2. Vladdy Guerrero, thank you, Drew. I couldn't find the numbers in the baseball reference. 195 last year, 216 this year, both in the rookie league without any HRs. Walks a ton. Nobody hits in those leagues. If you remember when the Valley Cats here were affiliated with the Astros, and they played, it was rookie league ball, I believe. Maybe it was low A, which is the same thing, I believe. They're no longer affiliated with a major league team, by the way. But nobody hit in those leagues, man. It was terrible. They're all kids out of high school. They really didn't hit much. Maybe he changed his name. Too many Vlad Guerreros. It's like George Foreman of baseball. Yankees struggling and could not happen to a greater franchise. Well, that's hurtful, Scott. It sucks, by the way. There are no easy games for the Yankees. I agree. The Babe's still longest HR recorded in 1921, 575 feet with the name. The names sound better than the Mazzara home run. I don't even know who the Mazzara is, quite frankly. It's interesting because when they go out of ballparks, they can go a lot further, right? I know Mickey hit a ball that hit the facade that they estimated would have gone maybe 600 plus feet if it hadn't hit the facade. How they figure these things out, I don't know. Just guesswork. By the way, I put the Major League Baseball. We're going to disagree here necessarily. Here's the thing, and I disagreed because Drew brought this up last week, or maybe it was on the MLB update last week. The fans should get to see who they want to see. The game means nothing. The game's an exhibition. I want to see it played hard. I want to see it played like baseball. But I guess maybe my argument doesn't stand up necessarily because they're not voting Mike Trout in, right? They're voting some. I don't know. I don't know who shouldn't be in this year. Who shouldn't be in? We only got a few minutes to talk about this, but as we're talking about it, who shouldn't be in the All-Star game that's there? There we go. I'll go quickly through this. We can go a little long. If we got to go long, we'll go long. Cal Raleigh, he's deserving. Vlad, people want to see Vlad. He's not having a great year, but I can see him being there. Would you have kept Willie Mays or Henry Aaron or Carl Yastrzemski out of the All-Star game at the end of their careers? I wouldn't have. Gleyber Torres, deserving. Jacob Wilson, deserving. Jose Ramirez, I don't see why he wouldn't be deserving. Designated hitter, I don't give a crap about anyway. Is he actually in the All-Star game? This one could be. He's got a decent judge we aren't going to argue with. Are we going to argue with Riley Green? Baez, maybe. Yes, Baez, definitely. Will Smith, who should be starting there? Freeman, I'm fine with that. Marte, Lindor, Machado, Otani, Acuna. I get it. That's a popularity contest. He's only played 30-some games. Pete Crow Armstrong, no problem. Kyle Tucker, no problem. I don't have a huge problem here. And I think the fans ought to get to see who they want to play. The All-Star game to me was I wanted to see Willie Mays and Hank Aaron. I wanted to see Yaz. It was a lot different then because I wasn't seeing these guys play ever. Game of the week on Saturday. That was it. And maybe it's different today. But I think the game is for the fans, and the fans ought to get who they want. No, I want those guys to play good baseball. I want them to stop miking them up. I want them to wear their real uniforms like they are now. But go back and watch some of the All-Star games from the 70s, John, on YouTube. And there's guys that you would say, no, they don't belong there. Fans want them there. I really don't have a problem. They are tad suspect, yes. You totally agree. Where am I time-wise? Am I getting there? I'm getting caught up. So we can go in this. We can go in this All-Star game commentary a little bit, maybe. Mets had Seaver, Ryan Koosman, and no-name Gentry. Gentry was a really good pitcher, by the way. And you're leaving out, and John will remember this name. John Gonzalez ought to remember this name. Now I've forgotten it. God, who was the other guy they had? Was their starting pitcher? Young guy, Jim McAndrews. He was a good pitcher, really good pitcher. Gentry and McAndrew had some arm problems. Koosman had some arm problems through his career. Ryan was really the odd man out in that rotation. It was Koosman, Seaver, Gentry, and McAndrew. Koosman was my favorite. Koosman was a really good player, really good pitcher. People should listen to his interviews. The guy was hysterical. I tried to get Jerry Koosman on, but I don't know. It's hard. You don't know which one of these guys are still even with it today. I'd mean that with no disrespect. I'm sorry. I've seen that show, and so let's take the intentional talk away. Players will get hit more often, I guess. That's a good point, Danny. It's you're not taking the intentional walk away. There's the link, by the way, Danny, if you're still with me. Click on that link or copy and paste it and get yourself in there. And CA, if you're still with me, we need to get Nick. I'll see if I can do it. I don't think I can remove Nick from the league. Whoa. John set a record for covering up my face. Nolan Ryan trade. Nolan and Leroy Stan had a couple of good years decent years with the Angels. Terrible. At the time, Fergosi was an all-star shortstop for the Angels. The Mets needed a third baseman, and they thought he could switch to third. Kind of like what the Yankees did with the A-Rod, right, with totally different results. Ryan was a young flamethrower that was extremely wild and couldn't find a strike zone. Whom could predict that at the time? It's still a horrible trade, John. Many at that time thought the Mets got the better end of the deal, but they didn't. The very first year, Ryan went out there, he won 19 games and struck out 380 guys. And Fergosi hit about 240. And Stanton had some moderate success. He was better. I would argue Stanton was better with the Angels than Fergosi was with the Mets. Still a bad trade. Again, it is apples and oranges, right? When we talk about Seaver getting traded, who's the franchise, I get that. 100%. So again, your review is accurate. It was not a good trade. You can't parse that as not a bad trade. Yankees have traded tons of prospects that turned out to be great players that didn't show a ton before. Jay Buhner. I'm just saying, again, it's two different. And the trades were, Seaver wanted out. It's not like they ripped the carpet out from under him. He wanted out. He'd had enough of Donald Grant. He'd had enough of being written and have his family written about by Dick Young, and wanted out of New York City. That was it. Bad trade? Yes, 100% bad trade. You don't trade the franchise for, 4 mediocre players. I still want to know that guy's name, John. I know you must know the guy's name that I'm trying to think of that was traded. Steve Henderson, Pat Zachary, Doug Flynn. I feel like there was two more guys that never made it, but one of the keys to the trade was this young outfielder, Norman. I don't know I believe his last name was Norman. Seaver's better than Ryan. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, the Angels could foresee what he was going to be. And it's like he became a star 10 years later. He became a star the next year. Saying, what we got here? All right, you see, you had the link there. Did you try it again? I don't want to see you get shut out. Again, now we need 6 guys. So, Keith, who's the greatest athlete you have ever seen? Not your favorite, the greatest I've ever seen. Well, again, probably Bo Jackson. Be in my lifetime, right? I only saw the great Willie Mays in clips. I didn't get to see the best of Willie Mays. I didn't see Jim Thorpe. I did get to see Caitlyn Jenner, but that's a different story. I'm going to say Bo Jackson off the top of my head. I love watching old football highlights on YouTube. I do it all the time, Matt. I'm Googling 70s football, 70s MLB. I love to watch the MLB just for the player introductions. I've watched everything from like 60 to 89. So if you want to put a new twist on the All-Star game, maybe play the defending world champs against the other league stars. Man, maybe. But what about the other stars in the National League, say, this year? They wouldn't get a chance to play? I don't know. I just think Ron Taylor, was he the other starter? He just passed away recently, right? That's not one of the guys traded, was it, for Seaver? I'll look it up. Some of us don't have minds like a steel trap, John. I got to know this guy's name now. It's not Taylor. Might have been one of the guys, but see if I can find it here. Midnight Massacre. Here we go. They also traded Dave Winfield that same night. Pat Zachary, Steve Henderson, Doug Flynn, and Dan Norman. There was 4 guys. Dan Norman's a guy I couldn't think of. He was one of the keys for the Mets to that trade, as I remember. Ron Taylor, I know, was a pitcher on the 69-70 era Mets before they traded Ryan. But McAndrew was a big piece of that rotation. Taylor was as well. Just passed away, I think, a few weeks ago. Jim Fregosi, 232, 5 homers and 32 RBIs. I'm guessing Leroy Stanton had a better year than that. We're going to go a little long today because I got nowhere to go. I'm off work until Wednesday. And then in 52 days, I'm off work for the next 35 years. Okay. His first year in California. It's free. 251, 12 homers, and 39 RBIs. Again, I would say that Stanton had a better first year than Fregosi. His best year was 1975. He had 14 homers and 82 RBIs. Actually, no. In 77 with Seattle, he had 27 homers and 90 RBIs. Check that out. First year in New York. Trade results are always evaluated in hindsight, some of them taking years to figure out. This didn't take years to figure out. It took 1 year to figure out. When they include prospects, you can even extend them outward by evaluating when the new team flips their acquisitions for others. Doug Flynn, Pat Zachary, Dan Norman. Thank you, Drew. John is backing that up. Dan Norman. I couldn't remember Dan Norman. I've had all the names. I just couldn't come up with Dan. I don't know where I got Nelson. Who the hell's Nelson Norman? Is he a player? I got to know. I don't just make up names. I got to have known that name from somewhere. Nope. I guess not. Henderson was the lead liner of the trade. I thought Norman too. I know Norman was a minor league prospect. Supposed 5-tool player. I believe his best season. That sounds probably right. Let's check him out. Again, John, I do use the baseball reference because it's there. And I always have accurate information. I believe you're pretty close. Crap. Now I don't want to leave. I like Steve Henderson, by the way, as a player for a while. His first year with the Mets, he was 16. He went 12 for 65, so you're pretty close there. He had a respectable 297. I think he was a decent fielder. And by the way, he was second in the Rookie of the Year voting in 1977. And he played just 99 games. After that, 10 and 65. Then he gets traded to Chicago in 1981, and his career really went down after his second year for sure. Did have a decent year in Seattle in 1983, and that was pretty much the end of him. RBI is just really good trade for the franchise. I didn't say it was a good trade. Once again, John, listen to what I'm saying. It's a bad trade. Horrible trade. You don't trade the franchise for this. But the Mets also were in a lot different position when they traded Ryan or Amos Otis, which nobody seems to want to mention Amos Otis, for Joe Foy. But this is a different situation. Seaver wanted out. The Mets were hamstrung. When you say you want out, you really have hamstrung your team as far as getting back equal value. Yeah, I'm not arguing it. This is a horrible, horrible trade. Horrible trade. All I said was all of these players were better than Jim Fregosi for the Mets. And 2 years, actually all of his years, no matter how bad he got with the Mets, were better. Every year was better than what Jim Fregosi gave the Mets. Everyone. I'm missing the point. At the time, the Mets thought they had their all-star third baseman. You're focusing on what transpired. Well, how can you not focus on what transpired on? And I didn't say it was the Seaver trade was a good trade. So I don't think I'm missing the point. I think we're on the same point. We're just coming at it from different directions. By the way, Joe Foy was the same thing. They thought they were getting their all-star third baseman of Joe Foy for Amos Otis. I'm not a Met fan, and I remember that. And again, Seaver forced his way out. They had to trade him. Nelson played 12 soccer with Carlos. Anyway, John, the Mets make a lot of bad trades. We know that. So do the Yankees, by the way. The Yankees are not immune to this. Jeez. I mean, they traded Jay Buhner for frickin' Mike Phelps. When you look at trades, you have to look at the body of work after the trades and dissect it. I agree. I mean, I don't know how you can't. You know, I mean, the Mets thought for Seaver they were getting a decent player back, and he was a decent player for 2 years. Oh, it's funny. It took him in 157 games. He barely matched what he did in 99 in his rookie year. He was a really good player for 99 games in his rookie year, as I look at this now. In 99 games, he had 16 doubles, 6 triples, 12 homers, 65 RBIs. Hit 297. His OPS was 852. Second in rookie of the year. He didn't play until June. Good stuff. Listen, it's all, everything's in the eye of the beholder. Again, Seaver is the worst trade in Met history for a different reason than Nolan Ryan potentially being which I think we've said the same thing, John. I think we're saying the same thing. We're just saying it differently. Tom Seaver should have been a one franchise guy. We talk about one franchise guys now. And Tom Seaver easily could have been a one franchise guy if it wasn't for the horrible Met management who wouldn't give him what he needed and should have gotten. And Dick Young, for whatever reason, John, you must remember this. Dick Young had a vendetta against Tom Seaver and basically chased him out of New York. I don't know why. What do you got for me, John? Tom Seaver, by June 14th, wanted out of New York City. I'm telling you, Dick Young chased him out of town. Dick Young and M. Donald Grant chased him out of town. So he wanted out. They weren't going to pay him. Hang on. I just want to check something out here. So I don't think I'm wrong there. I'm not saying he didn't want to stay. In fact, the Washington Post wrote that Dick Young chased Tom Seaver out of town. And Dick Young refuted that, saying a reporter cannot chase a player out of town. Dick Young, fiery, precocious, acerbic, spoke for the average man, he thought. He was a dick, Dick Young. I've had my finger on the pulse of the fan. But now Dick Young, 37 years in the business and columnist for the multi-million-dollar circulation, arguably the most powerful sports writer in America, finds himself not a watcher, but the watched, finds himself being accused of the man who ran Tom Seaver out of New York. For Tom Seaver, the best and most popular player in New York, and the Mets had a disagreement with chairman of the board, M. Donald Grant, and Young, in his usual slashing way, came out against him. He even wrote that Seaver's demands were related to his wife's envy of the wives of players who made more money. Exactly what I said. And when Seaver left Cincinnati shortly thereafter, it is Dick Young who forced the deal, who urged Grant on and who participated strongly in the unmaking of Seaver as a Met. So again, maybe Tom Seaver. I know Tom Seaver had a big issue with Dick Young. All I'm saying. Well, I remember that time as like it was yesterday, Jen. I don't need to read. I only read these articles for your benefit. I remember these stories. I remember Dick Young's stories. And Dick Young was a hatchet man for these teams right and left. He was a hatchet man for M. Donald Grant. He went after Seaver's wife in the papers. Seaver didn't like it. Seaver was not against being traded by the time he was traded. That's my point. That's all I'm saying. It's a good one too. Ken Singleton, Foley, Tim Foley, and Jurgensen and Singleton. This is a good one for Rusty Staub. But that's a good trade for both teams right there. That's not a bad trade. That worked out for everybody. Singleton broke out in Montreal, became a big star in Baltimore, but Staub was a great player for the Mets. So that's not a bad trade, I don't think. I mean, I'll give John a chance to refute me again. John, in those days, different time in baseball and sport trade, they did have tremendous pull. Dick Young had tremendous pull. He was at the end. He was at the end of his career, and he had become not a curmudgeon, but a bitter old man, Dick Young. And I'm not saying it's good, but I guarantee it. He definitely had impact on the Mets moving Seaver, and Seaver would have had to okay that trade, by the way, if I'm not mistaken. No, maybe not. Was he a 10-5 guy? Probably. He would have had to okay the trade. Maybe he wasn't a 10-5 guy. 77. Yeah, he came up in 67, correct? He was a 10-5 guy. Seaver could have said no, is part of my point. Oakland A's were the only one receiver removed from all the Henderson outfield. That would have been interesting. We had all aloof outfield with the Giants, but they were brothers. Please don't bring up the name Mike Torres circa 1978. Thank you for bringing that up, by the way. John, we're on the same page with this comment. I agree 100%. I'm only talking about the details of what happened when he got traded. The details I brought up are fact. I'm not wrong. Whether Seaver should have been traded is a different story. I would not have traded Tom Seaver. In any event, Tom Seaver, I just said 5 minutes ago, should have been a one franchise player. And I was happy as a baseball fan to see Tom Seaver come back to New York. Why? And then it lasted 1 year. It's always fun dissecting trades in all sports just to see the motivations and personalities, money, age, and how they turn out. Well, I agree. You know, and it was different then. I think everything felt different then. Trades felt different. This was a big trade. And John Gonzalez, you're absolutely right. Seaver was the Babe Ruth of the Mets. Oops, sorry. Seaver was oh, there you go. Sorry. Let me go back to the previous one. I'll go to that in a second. Seaver was a Babe Ruth of the Mets, so that's undeniable. You don't trade him for 4 mediocre players. Again, you get no argument from me there. I really think we're on the same page here. I think we're just differing on the circumstances. Dick Young played a huge part of Tom Seaver no longer being a Met. John did bring up Staub was a major star at the time, for sure. The Mets made an excellent trade for Staub. I agree 100%. Staub was a great player. I would argue the Mets did have a bad trade involving Rusty Staub, and it was Rusty Staub for Mickey Lolich. Horrible trade. Everyone, last reminder, watch Keith Engle After Dark, 12 midnight. I guess it's Jake Paul. Actually, I'm going to have Cesar Chavez Jr. on from the ICE Detention Center he's in South L.A. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for the plug, Scott. Wasn't saying Staub's trade was a bad one, just listing a trade that, oh, I got you. Well, they were great trades. Montreal made 2 bad trades there, actually. I I mean, Foyley and Jurgensen were decent players, and Singleton became a star, but they all became stars elsewhere. I love Nolan Ryan, but the Mets. No, I don't just. I'm not saying he was. Again, I've said all along that the two trades have to come up in two different columns, right? You got the franchise you traded, bad trade, horrible trade, ridiculous trade, and Nolan Ryan. If the Mets didn't know what they have, then shame on the Mets. Because he became a great player. He still was a walk to a lot of guys his first few years in where were they then? California Angels. But he also struck out 380 through no hitters. I mean, again, he became a great player. Two different types of trades, right? One they made out of necessity, trading their franchise. The other one, because the franchise couldn't be signed or wouldn't be signed. The press was chasing Seaver out. I remember Seaver's response to Dick Young and saying, is this the way my family's going to be treated here? I want out of here, basically. Oh, great. Now, in fairness, I guess they didn't know Mickey Lolich was washed up, right? And even in that year, I want to say he went 8-13. His ERA was 3.83, which, again, today would be outstanding. But Mickey Lolich was done. I believe he went 8-13. Maybe I'm thinking about they traded him right afterwards to the Padres, I believe. I think he only pitched 1 year in New York, right? Anyway, great stuff again today, guys. Wonderful. I love these. These debates are awesome. This is what the show's about. You guys, and if you disagree, guys, continue to disagree. It is okay to not have the same opinion, respect each other, and, it's all good. I love that type of feedback and debate. So we'll wrap it up, guys. I'll be on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. with Jack Hirsch. I'm Jack and Keith. Jack and Keith's weekend playbook. We'll talk about a lot of the same stuff probably and have some fun in the morning. And Jack and I always get into it. So everybody have a good week. Rest of your holiday weekend today. It's going to be a hot one here in New York, John. I'm sure it's going to be hotter in the city. Stay safe. And we got to find a way to get you up here. Mike Torres, a mediocre pitcher, had only 2 good years. Made a lot of money off those 2 good years, I'll tell you that. 2 good years. All right, guys, we'll see you later. Have a great Sunday. Keith Engle for TGI Sports Talk. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.